God, it got quiet all of a sudden.
Yeah, okay, it's working.
Yeah, if you wish to record these sessions, just let me know, because apparently I have to let people do it individually. Just click the buttons. Hey, Scotty. Hello, Scotty.
Tell you what, Mel, I've been enjoying sitting in watching these things. Sometimes it's very difficult to keep my mouth shut, and I apologize for that. But it's nice to see some of the names of the callers that I recognize them by name, but nice to be able to see their face. Mm-hmm. Yes, and yes, I am willing to participate.
Absolutely. Like I said, you've got so much knowledge in the background. I don't want to lose that. And you put it in.
I don't want to lose it either. But I'll tell you what, that's a frightening thing to me too. If I start speaking on a subject, my biggest fear is that I'm going to be like some of the caller instructors that I've been exposed to through my lifetime, not naming names. Excellent callers, knew endless amount of material about how to call and what to call. But I always figured, even during most of that time, I was fairly adept at calling. But I could walk out of one of their seminars shaking my head and say, God, I wonder what the hell it was he said. And that just really bothered me. So I don't want to do that, particularly to the very, very new callers. Yeah. To me, it is all so simple, but I've never figured it was easy, and that's the big part of it right there.
Yeah.
So
well, simple but not easy is a good way of looking at it.
The simpler I can make it, the better it is for everybody, myself included, because that way I have less to worry about. I'd rather go to ground zero and work up with things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where we're looking in the background is just saying, right, well, you've made two comments which really twigged and they resonated, especially with a lot of new callers. I've given your email to a few of them to say contact you directly, because you said to do that. They appreciated two things. One was it's simple, but it's not easy. That's an excellent slogan for being a square dance caller, because it is simple, but it is not easy. There's so much to learn in the background. And it is the too much too soon. I can't remember the actual words you used, but you basically said experienced callers try to teach too much too soon and expect too much. Let them learn at their own pace. If it takes somebody 20 years to learn, mental image calling, and that's all they're doing, well, then let it take 20 years. If it takes them 20 minutes, then let it take 20 minutes. Everybody's going to be different, but they've got to start at the bottom first.
It's going to take a long time. I'm not going to mention any names, but I have been getting emails from some of the callers from my Facebook.
That's good.
Now, one fella pretty much started calling at the advanced level. There was nobody in the area that was teaching it, and they wanted to learn it. Dancers wanted to dance it. So he took up teaching it and therefore calling it. In other words, he skipped over elementary school and secondary school and went right into university or college studies. The language we speak, for the brand new callers, you start talking phaser and the different combinations and right-hand lady boxes and all of that stuff. For a brand new caller that does not speak the language, you're going to leave them behind pretty darn quick.
Yep.
And the fact that it's simple, that's the part that makes it not easy. It's the language more than anything else. If you can convince yourself mentally, here I'm taking up your whole visiting time. Sorry, go ahead.
Don't be. It's an open mic and it's an open discussion.
Okay, well, if you can come to the conclusion, like I have, that a square is very small, it's only, what, 4 couples, 8 people. Well, you can cut that in half because of the diagonal opposite, the mirror image thing, right? So you're not talking, now your presentation today is on 2 couple and Sicilian Circle, right?
More or less, it's a step back in history of why it worked with 2 couples, why 2 couples works, and then we're going to look a little bit at 2 couple calling, not isolated site. We've done that, but that's the basic principle.
I'll have
Yes.
some comments on the Sicilian Circle in particular.
I know I've actually included your article as part of the handout that I'm giving with this presentation.
In any case, you're only working with 2 couples, so you're not trying to keep track of 8 answers. You have very few places you can go in the square. You have 2 Allemande formations, period. They're both in what we call a grid, which is 2 couples, east and west, or north and south, right? Everybody understand it?
Yep.
So that's where you can go. You can go north and south, you can go east and west, 2 couples, unless you're talking about circle figures like Allemande or Alamo style, things like that. I don't count those because typically they're memorized material anyway.
Yeah.
But when you start going back and forth in that grid, then you're just dealing with 2 couples. Can't go very far. I don't care if you're in ocean waves, a double pass-through formation, a quarter tag formation, or parallel waves, or even callings. Cut that thing in half, and that does nothing you can call there changes the direction of that grid. You have to do that intentionally with, well, a pass-through bend the line from facing lines. That'll change the direction of the grid.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody's got the modules and things to set that up in different ways. But really, other than learning the movements and getting module, whether it's flow or zeros or equivalents or whatever kind of modules you have, and know how to move the dancers, there's nothing to it. That's it. That's the end of the whole thing right there.
Yep. And we're going to be touching a little bit on the 2 couple aspect, but it's one of the things that I definitely want. That's why I've been giving your email out to a lot of callers, especially new ones, because they really liked what you were saying about being fed too much information too fast, too heavy on the technical. It really resonated. A good example, I was talking with one of the callers today. The hardest thing for me in these sessions was to convince brand new callers to say, okay, can you stop? I don't know what you mean by right-hand lady box. What is that? Or what is a CB? You know,
you're not going to get them to stop you.
I know. She understood X box, but not cross the street box or whatnot. And it's finding that starting point is the hardest part. And you do that very well, which is why I asked you if you would do a session. Let's take it back, turn the fire hose off, and go back to the drinking fountain.
Yeah, but I think I've pretty well done the session right now. You know,
you're not getting off that easy.
There's not much to it. See, I can give some demonstrations, and you guys are so really, really good at those sharing those graphics and everything. Mine are pretty simple by comparison.
Yeah.
So that's just me. I've never been the brightest bulb in the box. So I've always had to try to make nice, simple rules that I could find not only easy to use, but easy to remember.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I liked starting out my calling life the way I did, because I was there at an opportune time when Jay King just released his book on mental image.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, that thing depended on 2 things. Setting up for element left, 1 of 2. Now he called it 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's still only 2 element left formations. And other than that, being able person, not have to worry about anybody else, as long as I knew what would and wouldn't change partners. Now, Don Beck, good friend of ours, he calls it X's and O's. I just say, oh, partner change. If I have one, I got to have another. Take that one person the right place. Now, I was lucky enough to be able to figure out what Jay King was talking about. He had a plastic system, collars, but I'll tell you what, his book was confusing to most people. But I found simple rules to use it, so that's why I started calling. And all of the callers in our metropolitan area wondering how the heck I was being able to call all that material and not have to read it. Now, mind you, I'd only been calling for a year when all this happened. Well, they wanted to learn how to do it. Guess what? I became a caller instructor after just a couple of years calling. So their request. And I didn't know much about calling myself, but I knew that method. So that's really what got me started on that. But it made me need lots of modules, lots and lots of modules. Well, in order to get them, now back then, for any of you that were calling 50 years ago, 40 years ago maybe, before calling line, okay, there were, I don't know, probably a monthly note services, and every caller in the country was a new movement and presenting it to Bill Peters or Jay King or all of the guys, and Bill Davis, and had them everywhere. And in order to get them published and sent out, and everybody had all these experimental movements that they could play with.
Yeah.
Well, I had to sit down and write modules to fit into what I was doing for it. So I learned a lot about how to write modules and how to work them into the material. So it was all a building process. But that's the point, isn't it? I'll tell you what, folks, you get 50 years in this business doing it, you're going to know probably more than I do.
You know, I think there might be one or two of those faces up there on the screen that might just be reaching that area. About 20 years ago. There's also a couple of faces in there that have actually been publishing several note services, and one that still is publishing a note service. So,
well,
Barry, I see it's wet in Wollongong. We've still got a few people coming in. It's 9 o'clock. We'll get started shortly, but I'll just give it a couple more minutes. We've got about 27 people in here so far. Mike, yes, some people have used the windmill system that Stan was talking about. A lot of that, the windmill system is variations of what a lot of callers, Rick Hampton calls it the wind in your face system. The flows that do the big, large sweeping movements that have maximum flow around the floor, that's where a lot of Stan Burdick's system is actually where you pulled into the double pass-through resolution system or the center box resolution system. But the reality is, it is still a technique that uses modules to figure out what it is. And once you figure that out, 99% of site calling is modular use, just watching where to put the module in and knowing where you are when you want to put it in. I have this argument with a number of callers because I say there's absolutely no such thing as pure site calling. It just doesn't exist. And I've yet to have anybody prove me wrong on that. Oh, come on. I threw that one open for a challenge. Nobody's going to challenge that one?
I had one of the long time 50-year-old call or 50-year-long callers tell me that he never called modules a couple of years ago, and I've been dancing for like 30 years before I started calling. So, and I've been dancing with him for 10 years, and I said, when I was a dancer and didn't know anything about it, I always thought you were calling modules because you were always calling the same thing. And when he finally thought about it, you know, he really was. He wasn't calling it all modules, but he called modules. You know.
Yeah.
He used them. You know.
and most of us have favorite little sequences that we fall back on all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I do.
All right. I notice Mark. Where are you, Mark? You just came in here.
Yep, I'm here.
I'm just trying to find you on my list here. You're gonna have to wave your hand or something so I can see you. There you are.
He's down there sitting in his starship.
You all right if I make you co-host again, Mark?
Yeah, I'm good.
For those of you that don't know, Mark has been doing a lot of the background, a lot of the posting on newbie callers and callers in training. He's actually been recording the video sessions of these sessions and posting them up there for everyone. I never appreciated how much work he was doing until I had to record one and put it on there myself. These videos are something like 900 megs in size, and they take a long time to process. So now that I've done one myself, I really do want to say thank you for doing that for me, Mark.
Oh, not a problem. Okay, so I noticed I'm late, so am I supposed to start recording?
We haven't quite started. I was just waiting for a few. There was a couple of people said they were going to be a couple minutes late, so I was going to kick off at about 9:05. We're just waiting. I'll just get the screen up, and I suppose if they come in a couple minutes late, maybe they'll be on time next time. So you'll let anybody in that comes in?
Yep.
All right.
And I am recording.
Okay, so is the PowerPoint presentation up?
Yes, it is.
All right, so what I wanted to talk about today was the title of this is Two Couple Calling in the Sicilian Circle. And for those of you that don't know what a Sicilian Circle is, it's basically a traditional dance that came from Sicily, hence the name, but it's been used in a myriad of dances all over the world, which is essentially one couple facing another couple in a circle where you interact around with the other dancer in the circle. One couple going one direction, one couple going another direction, and you interact and you progress from dancer to dancer. Now, in square dancing, it's an ideal tool, it's an ideal teaching tool, and we'll get into a little bit of that later. That should be on PowerPoint, that should be on Solaria. Okay, but I wanted to do a little bit of a history lesson first, because although the focus of this is two couple dancing, we really need to look back, because this is one of the things where history needs to repeat itself. It's not learning from the mistakes of history, it's learning from the advantages of history. And so I want everybody to just look at that picture for a second. That's a picture that was painted from a photograph of a barn dance. It was a square barn dance around 1900. And you notice up on the stage, they have a caller, or a prompter as it was known at the time, and they've got the dancers. But have a close look at that photograph, because this photograph epitomizes what it is to be a square dance caller. Okay? What do you actually see in that picture? Where is everybody looking? Is anybody actually looking at the caller? No. What's everybody doing? Everybody on the floor is dancing, they're interacting. It's a crowded square, but you can't actually make out the squares if you really look close. They're all laughing, they're smiling, they're doing what they have to. Who is actually looking at the prompter on that floor? Nobody. He doesn't exist as far as they go, but he's part of the show. And have a look at the people also that are not engaged in a square. They're engaged in the event. They're there with the music. They're, you've got the little child down here. Look, they're sharing, but they're enjoying it. Fellow dance with a little girl that's not involved. Everybody's engaged. And that's what it was about. It was community. It was social. It was fun. So now it's been many, 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 many times 1800s, probably before the 1900s, and it remains today as true as it did then. And so I pulled this out of a historical record, and it says, what do you need to be a good prompter? Now, take the word prompter because they prompted all the dances, the jigs, and everything else, but take the word prompter to be caller, and in around 1900, they say you need presence. So when you're prompting, you have to be able, or you have to be the show, even when they're not looking at you. You need personality. This one I thought was important. Once you become a square dance prompter, you're always a prompter. Whether you work in a store, work at a mill, if you're a cowboy, or if you're the town sheriff, you will always be you. Well, that is also true about callers today. Sociability. You have to make people want to feel like it's a party. When you're there, even learning something new, they're the social, you are there to keep it going and give them something to talk about. Make it fun. Let them whoop, teach them to have and have fun when you teach them. That way you control it, it does not control you. Short figures that end with lots of swings and do-si-dos and promenades work well. The dancers need to know that they're doing great. Don't just let them tell themselves. Dancing. You have to be able to teach it. Show it, teach it, prompt. But more important, dance when you're not prompting. And finally, on this slide, performance. Like presence, it's a show. You are the entertainer. They won't look at you, but they know you're there. It's not like opera. It's not like theater. It's not like the saloon girls. It's all of them together, and they are you. Now, look at those 6 points. Those were the first 6 points. How much of that actually is about the technicalities of dance? None. It's about giving them time. Then they get into the rest. Timing. Their timing. Get them on the beat. If they move to it, they can throw at them and come back for more. If they don't, they go home early, booze, then barn dance. Music has to draw them in. Even a fiddle can be the rhythm. On prompting and teaching, it says teach them to listen and then to do. Most things you can prompt them through. I don't know why they made that in a rhyme. It says teach them to listen and then to do. Most things you can prompt them through. And what they're saying there is make sure your prompts and your patter are different. Call your calls, set your patter in as a background filler. And it says set your square dance with number ones and teach them beforehand. That way at the dance you can prompt and teach while they learn. Today we use angels to do things. You can use the patter to tell them how. A lot of times you can use your filler words to actually prompt movement. Timing. Good music sets toes tapping. When you prompt, let them know ahead of time what's coming so they can dance to the music or tap their toes when they aren't dancing. Now this is what I thought was important. This is back in the 1800s and the 1900s. Prompting has 10 beats to dance. Prompting has 10 beats. Dancing has 8. You have to learn that. Today we call that lead time, but even back then they knew about giving the dancers the downbeat. And then finally, giving them something new. And what they wrote was always try to bring in something a little different at each dance you prompt. Use what they know and change it up a little bit with a surprise. Take couple number one left instead of right, but don't change the order that they move around. Have the girls start inside and pick up the for a change instead of boys going inside and picking up the girl. Work 2 couples at the same time, heads up instead of couple number one lead to the right. Work 2 couples. This was considered radical square dancing. Change partners to take home a new girl. Ooh, now we're getting it. And they have a warning. Make sure you get them back to the originals when you're done by the end of each sequence. That's important because you have to make sure that you don't disrespect any of the ladies or the men that brought them. Okay, now I might add that these were 10 things that were true prior to 1900, prior to Collar Lab, prior to regional standardization, and during the creation of Collar Lab, during the creation of all these standard lists, right up to the last 20 or so years. They were true, they were effective prior to the turn of the last century, and they remain true today. The problem is they're not always remembered. And when you look at that, it's not until you actually get to number 7 that we're actually talking about the technicalities of calling to get the dancers. Everything else is about the dancers. One of the keys to success of square dance evolution, those 10 principles, is that it is always focused on making sure the dancers had fun, making sure they succeeded and that they wanted to do it again. It's all about them, not you. It was those dancers that made the caller famous. It was those dancers that made the caller popular. It was those dancers that invited them back for family socials and gathering. It was the dancers that recommended different callers for the shearing festivals or the cattle drives or the big town holidays. That's because they believed in you as a caller back then. That's what you want to achieve today, and that's something that a lot of us have lost the focus on. The thing to note historically is the actual choreography associated to being a good caller didn't even enter the priorities until after number 5 on the list. Everything before that is about giving them a good time. Everything after that is about using the tools that you have to make sure that that good time is shared with a single activity, whether it's a square dance, a reel, a contra, or directed polka, whatever was in the prompter's mood or show for the day. Okay? Now, a lot's changed over the years, and although the idea is to ensure that there is something fun for everybody and everybody can join in, there's still a few foundation principles that have been part of the activity, and they remain now. And it's one of those that is the focus that we're on. And that's the two-couple dance. In the days gone by, the hootenanny or the barn dance was a big couple circle in which one couple paired, worked with their partner and another couple. So it would be facing lines in a contra, one couple facing another, facing couples down, having your partner across you, but working with another couple beside you. However you did it, it was generally a two-couple pairing. Sometimes they were facing, sometimes they were partnered, but the relationships very, very rarely changes. And the great prompters of the day worked with even couples in a ring with their two-couple mixers. Generally, before the square dance, they would get them together, and if there was something new, they would introduce that to whoever their lead couple was or their number one couple was. Around the turn of the centuries, things got really, really wild, where they would actually separate partners and have them go different directions. So you'd have the men going right, the ladies going left, or one couple going right, the other couple going left across the ring. You know, but they would always work to bring them back together at the end of the circle or at the end of the square. And that was considered radical magic back then. And it really got things going. And it was such a simple thing today that we lost sight of it because it is so simple and it's such a simple pleasure. Today we do things like right and left grands and thars and rollaways and weave the rings. They achieve exactly the same thing, but they're as much today about the caller doing the showmanship aspects of calling than they are about the wonders of the delight of the dancers. And in a lot of cases, what happened is callers have lost that aspect of the reward, the justification, the I did it successfully, swing and promenade and all of that to put the show on. The show's important, but it's not about you. It's about the dance, that wow singing college to get it out there. That's when you do it, but you've got to make sure that they can do the swing and promenade, right and left grand, or anything else, that piece of music to augment that show. Because without them dancing and enjoying it, however well you do it is not going to work. You can do things like interlinking stars, where the boys or the girls would move down the center of the two stars on the outside, and the outsides would walk in different directions. You know, in today's dance, 4 dancers that spin chain through would do that and circulate twice. But in a big circle of facing dancers where everything was 8 beat back then, this was considered really, really fancy magic dancing, complex, ooh. And yet they prompted it without teaching it, without spending hours teaching it, because they did it in 2 couples and they worked it very simply. Things were simple then. They would use the outside couple as leads to show new movements in a big circle with 2 facing couples, a bit of mixing, you doing things with other couples as you shuffled around to different things. Fancy movements were things like insides make an arch, dive through, and everybody, California twirl, repeat it for the outsides, outside an arch, others duck under. In a big circle, we had the dip aspects where you tell which couple to make the arch and which couple to dive under. We still use all of this stuff today, but we've lost why it was done in the first place, because it was fun. Things like outside split around, one star through, California twirl, or arch and substitute, all of those other kinds of things, right? Ladies chain, flutter wheels, so on and so on and so on and so on. They were all done in the big circle, but it wasn't called that. You know, and you can recognize all of these things. These are big circle dances, big whoop it up hootenannies. And yet we do all of these things and we've lost why we do them. You could take the simplest dance of two couple stuff by circling right or left and add a forward and back, a bunch of hee-haws, liven it up, crowd up, and then you old-fashioned dance. So a little bit of digging, and this is an old-fashioned mixer to liven the party up. And it was done, you know, generally they'd get circles of 8, 15 couples. It depends on what the room. Sometimes they put circles, 8 couples around a circle of 16 couples. It really didn't matter. And I go, you know, all the couples bow and swing 8 steps and set your ring. Circle left, go around the floor 8 steps first and do 8 more. Heads go up and back. You go with a new girl there, do a do-side-do. Trade, you know, it said trade, that was the lady's chain back there. Trade her over cross track and turn her there and send her back. Start at 6 and then face in, pass those 2 with a silly old grin. And it goes on and on and on like that. What I found really about this is all the music back then was based on phrases. So if you can see my cursor there, I've got it bolded and underlined. This was something new, brand new. Start at 6 steps and then face in. Today we do, you know, circle 4 3/4 or turn the star 3/4. All that is star 3/4, facer, and pass through. But this is radical in a big circle that is going on, and then they just keep on going all the way around. On number 5, here's another one. Turn around left, or Alaman, and your partner right and left grand. You've got you and your partner going the same direction. So you're standing beside your partner, but you're going the same direction as your partner, and you're doing a right and left grand on 2 different circles, the inside circle and the outside circle, and you set it up as a race. And you get there. On number 5, it's a do-side-do. Oh, there you go. We've done that how many times? What do we do? A right and left grand, the 5th person. Do-side-do, back to back, all star left, go 6 steps round, back right out, and then you're home. You know, it's, again, turn that star 3/4. That's where they fixed it. So rather than go in and out, they just whoop it up, have fun. After this, everybody have fun circle dance. The caller would then break it down into a square dance, and you do a 6-step square dance. That's when he would introduce the star 6 steps and then face in, pass through, which is 2 steps. That fills in that 8 beats. He's starting to fractionalize the movements, but getting the dancers on the beat. All of that done in is done in the big circle, so that the dancers could learn it, do the figure, go, wow, never have any worry about messing up, because if they do mess up, they just grab their partner and move to whoever else is standing there looking silly because they don't have anybody, and they carry on, and they pick it up, and it's repeated over and over and over again until they all get the sequences. Today I want to talk about caller preparation, or in that day it was called the prompter notes. A prompter would do something like this, and he'd set his sequence up. So in this case, he's done that opener, and he set a sequence which goes first part, second part, second part, first part, second part, second part, first part. Now that is, wow, this is brand new around after the turn of the century. Today, that's the standard format of every singing call we do. It's pretty much the standard format of most patter calls we do. He's got notes, 16 beat open, no break, no close without the last 4 beats. He wants to do that. He's instructed the band to say, right, I don't want that tagline. I want this to end with a surprise. Now, today we listen to the music and we go through it and we see, okay, how does this end? Does that have taglines that drawn out as a surprise? He's doing exactly this is over 100 ago that we're doing today. And he's got a note on his fancy figure, his prompt the star, only 6 steps, and end facing partner. So then he sets it up with, does this stuff look familiar from the big circle? He's done it with 2 couples, and he's worked 2 couple mom around, interacted with all the other 2 couples in there, but he's bow and swing, circle to the left, go around the ring. Around to when you're right, the gents go in and the men one down past mother's hand, Behind your corner, a la man. Here comes mother, don't touch a thing. It's right and left. You heave the ring. Oh, grand, but don't touch anything. Ooh, fancy now. Behave, because here comes mother, swinger like, swinger high and swinger low, all hee haw ho. Notice the structure of that. That structure was developed for the band keep rhythm, but that structure really changed in years. It was either 64, 72, or 98 beats of music. It was that kind of thing. That's the opener. Today we call that the opener and the closer. The second got the head chain and keeper, side two ladies, chain over and back. He's got head star right, 6 steps in, face to mother, and pass again. Oh. What have we done? We've established a cross street blocks. Alaman left your corner, back to mother, right and left grand. Gents go right and the ladies left all the way, and she's well met. Back to mother, do side do. She'll turn around and promenade home. Again, exactly the same phrasing. It's for the dancers are comfortable with that 64 beat. This is radical, this is fast. And then at the end, the hee haw ho ends without that tagline of the beat. It's just, that's how everybody go in with a hee haw ho, and the music ends. There's that 16 beats of music missing, and everybody, wow, what happened there? We did it, we're successful. So you may ask, why am I talking about old time square dancing? It's the process for using a structure, barn dance, but let's look at what the prompter did. The big circle, or the Sicilian Circle, he introduced a new variation of the movement on stars, which was 6 steps to face a new direction. Turning the stars with different partners. We do head square through 4, make a right-hand star, head star left, halfway across, star right. Do this all today. He's introduced this with 2 couples working in a big circle, passing through to the outside couple. We're doing couple progression to the next couple. Steps from 8 beats to 6 beats, and then a 2-beat movement, which is the pass-through. So it took very little prompting, all 2 couples working time to give them fun and success. And each piece was always that little 2-couple dance. So just as a note, the caller used to have themes to go through dances like stars. He built them on cone circles, introduced things like turning stars. This particular movement eventually became a variation called Grand Star. In the notes, there's a link to that if you watch it. But it's always based on taking what the dancers knew, a little bit of variety, keeping it promptable. So let's look at the changes between them and now. In the old time, then 1900, head ladies chain, heads lead left, left hand stars, right hand star, left hand, right hand star, man left. 1950s bound swing, do side do, pass through, face in, right hand star, half right hand, pass through, element left, right and left. On a fun night today on dancers, promenade half, pass through, face your partner, pass through, right hand star, head star left halfway, right hand star left halfway, and then an Alaman left. That's terrible choreography. And then at teaching square through 4, right hand star, head star left halfway, star right, head star left halfway, corner. Not a heck changed, has it? Except for 2 couples, maybe a big circle, squares, and we spend a lot of time teaching this. They may get to that in a fun night, but in the old days, exactly the same flow, not 5 minutes and 20 minutes of dancing. Today, 20 minutes of teaching and 2 minutes of dancing. And yet it's exactly the same thing. We've lost a lot that kind of a sequence. Okay, so great call. Still use the circle to introduce movements that they want in the circle. Usually 2 couple and prompts. They then couple stuff into the square of teaching, and normally maximum of success. Many callers today still use the Sicilian Circle as a teaching platform. I know I do. I also use it as a review and a welcome platform, as it allows me to get everybody dancing on time, review what they've learned, move them around, mix and match, and see who's doing what. It also see where any problems lie with the movements that I've taught. And it also allows me sometimes one dancer from another dancer or one couple from another couple, and break down those cliques that develop, okay? It allows maximum interaction and movement, pass through, move to the next, sudden fix. They can just grab that free hand, next couple, and it's fixed again. There's no, I got that wrong, oh, poor me. It's there. They don't have to worry about why they fell apart. Why did we fall apart as callers? Well, there's two reasons. We lost in focus on the technicalities than the simple pleasure of building fun and success for the dance. And the second, which is for those of you that came in a little bit along the line of the conversation we were having, many teachers and mentors have changed the focus of teaching new callers to get callers technically perfect by feeding air hose of information and tech such as formations, resolving the squares, extemporaneous site calling, site resolution, calling methods, terms, vernacular, different languages, all these things that are unique to the profession. They're all important, yes, and all in time. Learning with have the technique now factor rather than getting a focus on the base foundations. Oh, I've got that little bit. Can you imagine taking children to elementary school where you teach them 1 + 1 and ABC on the first day of school, and then what you do is you teach them inversion calculus and quadratic algebra and the evolution of linguistics. It's not, they have no foundation on. Why do we do that with square dance callers when we're teaching square dance callers today? We'll feed them so much information, but we don't give them what they need, and that's the 1 and the ABC, so they can learn to develop those skills. And Daryl made a very good point earlier. He said there's a lot of callers that join the act today. They start calling at advanced levels because that's what's needed in their area and the foundation to build it on. We've lost sight of the simplicity of fun and the dance, and we've lost them. Give them a good time, them fun, give them sociability. Choreography is just a means to an end, but without us starting small and building successes, you become a technical, short-term goal and move on type caller. The answer is absolutely wrong. It's the wrong approach. So take a step back and remember the old days for a little bit and see how you can incorporate them into your calling for better teaching, for better performance, and much better experience for you. So, you know, if you get there and it's a party night and all, a first night, instead of putting them all in a circle and going heel, toe, slide, slide, heel, toe, slide, slide, face your partner, clap your knees, face, clap your hands. Most adults, and I've heard this comment from adults, say, why are they treating us like preschool children? That was fun when I was old. That's not fun now. I'm here to learn about square dancing. Why not teach me how to dance and have fun? They never did that back in the old days. They got them up there, they had them dancing, they had hoop and hollering. Yeah, it may have been really simple stuff, but they had dancing, moving, and having fun, teaching him and pretending that they were little tiny babies that need to be talked down to as babies. It's the first comments I hear from people. Why are they treated us like kids? You know, I've never heard with big circle and 2 couple circles and Sicilian circles. I've never heard that comment. Okay, that's couple dancing, but as you can see from the past, just like today, that use has got so much untapped potential. Okay, so dancing in formations other than 4 couple square use, it used to be common practice at square dances. The most frequently used formation was, of course, the Sicilian, which is a big composed of 2 couples of 2 couples facing another 2 couples. So we've got going this way, and couples going the other way. And it's an ideal way of doing 2 couple dances interacting the floor. So your big circle can contain 3 or 4 more sets of dancers. And if you get an odd person, you can just jump in and pick a direction and wait until you teach them that early, and away they go. If you don't have many couples, you can straighten that curve out and put them in on the floor and just tell them, if you line, the California twirl. And come to you. That's a technique now, aggressive squares, which is but it's still a perfect technique for two couple squares or two couple dance. Option, of course, is to set mini random groups of couples around the floor and just scatter period, pass, move to someone new, whatever. But you can interracialize an entire floor effectively, review effectively, teach effectively, most of the time with just two couples. Okay? The advantage is everyone can dance all the time. Okay? By passing through, facing couples can proceed to the next couple and form other sets of four. The caller can mix and match dancers and mix and match dancer skills. It's a great way to drill dancers on timing without them feeling that they're knowing or that they're actually being taught or reviewing things. You can get them quickly from one to another and get it, they pick it up. This couple here may be having trouble with square through 3, move to the next. They do a square through and they end up here, move to the next, quick adjustment to go here because there's a couple waiting for them. And the next couple may have skills. The caller can use that to move experienced dancers closer to the experienced dancers. There's lots of ways of doing that. Teaching any facing couple square dance basic or mainstream movement, two couple movement in a Sicilian isolates the action to just 4 dancers. That takes all the distractions away from the other dancers as to what's going square. If you do, and you're going to teach square through, great. Well, head square through the side, they're distracted by what's going on the inside. The heads are distracted by what's going on the outside. They want to know when they get there. Couples, it takes that away. For a calling point of view, it allows them to see exactly what's happening on the entire dance floor much easier than it is in multiple squares. Now, people ask me, why is that easy? It's because it's like watching soldiers march. If you watch soldiers march and you got that one person out of step, he stands out like a sore thumb, or she stands out like a sore thumb. It's not that you're watching all the dancers. You're attracted to something that's different than the flow. And it's really easy to isolate where a problem is. Much easier than when you got collective squares filling the floor. And Sicilian circles also provide another variety in square dancing. They're very fun to dance. They're very interactive. They're very social. They're very fun. Speaking notes, I have a paper by Daryl Clendenin that we published last year in Behind the Mic. I've attached that to the speaking notes, and it provides several more reasons for using the Sicilian Circle for teaching. But I'm just going to move to discussing our Sicilian circles at regular dance. Anytime you change your formation, dancers perk up, pass through, move, big smile. If you're in a square that has a clique, then they've got that one couple that is not too strong, and you got a clique of dancers. Oh my God, we've got, the Bloggins in our square again. Oh God, okay, we got to dance slow, and it brings the square down for some reason. It shouldn't, but they do. That's not you as a caller. That's not them as a couple. That's the dancers have been allowed to establish that. A Sicilian circle, you can break that up and perk up new dancers coming. You get that couple that's still working hard to try and improve. You move them to the next, you move them to the next, you move them to the next. It's short. They interact, they build confidence, and everybody else gets to dance with them. And they suddenly realize, you know what? They're not all that bad. Moving in a Sicilian circle, it's just, if you've got that, basically a Sicilian circle, it's a standard practice to move a square formation through an 8-chain through formation by doing that, moving them down the track across the grid. A square is essentially 2 facing couples stacked. When you do head square through, you got 2 facing couples stacked. Moving in a Sicilian circle is no more than just adding more couples to that stack. You could take that line and put it in one single line and call 8-chain 52. You're moving down a stack. You can do it exactly. You can't do it there, but you know what I mean. You're just putting more couples in the stack. By calling pass through, you've moved the stack down. Okay, so let's talk about the primary dance routines. A get-in, okay? The primary sequence for most callers today includes a get-in, be it whatever, something that's going to take you to where you're going. Even in 2 couple dances, have a get, forward and back, do a do side out, whatever it is, that's a get-in. Star through, that's a get-in. You've just changed the aspect of your facing couples. That's just to warm them up, get them to know that they're dancing. Then you've got a facing couple 0. Okay, if you dance 2 couples on a footprint and bring them back to that same footprint, that's a 2 couple 0. That's a module. Every now and then when you're calling, you're going to find one of those 2 couple interactions that is, wow, do si do, swing through, spin the top, slide through. They're right back where they started from. That's a 2 couple 0. Hey, that's a great little module. I'm going to work that down. You'll find yourself finding modules left, right, and center that even you can't keep up with them. Okay, a facing couple 0, when you're dancing and you're not, or sorry, crossover modules. When we're dancing in a square, we use the chicken plucker, and then we do a 2 couple 0, and we do the chicken plucker back, or the half chicken plucker. We're doing facing couple 0s. We get into lines, and we can call facing couple 0s. We get into boxes, we can call facing couple 0s. We can call facing couple 0s with heads or with sides. We can use crossovers, like the chicken plucker, just to make it feel like they're dancing. But that's just isolated sight. You don't have a module recognized. The techniques you use in the Sicilian Circle with 2 couple works just as effectively in squares, bringing back to that same footprint. And then your get out is a module, 99% of the time, which is isolated sight. The reality is, when you add up and go through the list of square dancing, 88.34% of all of our dancing through mainstream is 2 couple dancing. All the rest is an incorporation of crossover moves, and there's only a few movements that are actually 4 couple movements. 2 couple is your most powerful tool, regardless of the formation you're in. 88.34%. That's more than 3/4 of everything you dance is 2 couple dancing. Why do we not use this? Why do we not use this to our advantage? Okay. The primary dance routines used with facing couples are facing couple 0. I've mentioned that. The process you want to do is to make sure that you keep it short and you keep it simple. Okay. You don't want to do a 2 couple dance that's going to go on for 20 minutes with 2 couples. And if you can do it without bringing them back to their footprint, you're a much better caller than I am. But ideally, 2 couples, short and simple, move on to the next set. In a circle, pass through, move to the next. In a square, pass through, trade by, move to the next. You know, you're there. In a Sicilian Circle as a teaching tool, mixing partners, separating pairs is a great way of getting rid of those segregation cliques. You get to new couples quickly. Where are we here? I've lost my point here. Using stars and direction changes often. That's very important in 2 couple dancing. That's about really the only side to 2 couple dancing. It's very, very easy to get overflow. So you've got to really, really watch that when you're doing it. And the technical teaching side needs to be kiss 2. Oh, sorry, I missed work half sashayed star throughs for transition. So if you do right and left through and a half sachet, star through, move to the next. You've got a transition that, oh, where did that come from? That wasn't a pass through. There's all sorts of things. Square through 3, move to the next. It changes the direction. It's such a versatile tool that we don't use. When I said you need to, the technical teaching, that needs to be very simple as well. Okay, you can't spend an hour teaching dance, 2 couple dancers, teaching them. They will get bored. A 2 couple circle, a Sicilian circle, it's very easy to teach them, and it's probably a great way of teaching. You put them into squares. Very little needs to be done in the square. Okay, so let's look at an example of notes that go into much more detail than I'm covering in the slides. Okay, so this was a festival dance that was done in the US in the Mainstream Hall. It was in the hall. It's not particularly difficult, but this was a full sequence that was called. Heads square through 4, everybody square through 4. Boys run to the right, scoot back, hinge, ladies trade, recycle, square through 3, trade by, pass the ocean, box net, pass through, partner trade. Girls lead, reverse, flutter wheel, slide through, trade by, left square through, and so on 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 and so on. Allemande left, right and left grand, you're home. I've highlighted the movement trade by in there. The reason I highlighted the movement trade by is that, well, when I looked at this, it got me to thinking, Cal Campbell and Daryl Clendenin wrote about the Sicilian Circle, and what grabbed me was they both espoused keeping the partner and using the partner as using a pass-through or an equivalent to move to the next couple and do the next little facing couple 0. So if I look at the sequence, as I noted earlier, if you change that trade by to a pass-through move to the next, so after the pass-through, just trade by and change it to move to the next, what you've got is, yep, what you've got is a Sicilian Circle. Excuse me for 1 second. I've got a work call, unfortunately. Sorry, Valley Council Ranger Mel speaking. Okay, Barry. In the middle of a conference right now. I do have your dog. Your car has been secured by the police, and if it's going to be there for a while, we'll take it and secure it. But your dog is secure and your goods are secure, okay? I'm in a very big hurry. Great.
Imagine having to work for a living.
I put them all into your car. Everything was locked up, and I've secured the car. Okay, I'm gonna have to let you go here. If you want, give me a call back after 2 o'clock, and I can talk to you a little more, okay? 2 o'clock today, this afternoon. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
My apologies, people. Policing issue. Okay, so this is one that came from the Adelaide State Convention in 2018. Same kind of thing. The trade by, if I change that trade by to a move to the next, everything there fits in a Sicilian Circle. The only codicil or the only qualifier is where it says split circulate. You need to change the split circulate to a box circulate because you're not working in parallel waves. What you're doing is you're actually working in boxes of 4. But when you think about that, that is a lot of choreography right there that is done with 2 couples. There's nothing in there that is for choreography. That's really good dancing. And that's moving, that's interacting with the square, change trade by to move to the next, and guess what? You've got a Sicilian Circle. By using that, what you found is almost any movement that requires 2 couples can be taught in the Sicilian Circle. There's very few movements that are missing, things like grand square, 4 ladies chain, double pass through, although if you're creative, you can do that on a single track, 8 chain through, those kinds of things. Those have to be taught in squares, but by using this method, you can reduce the teaching time and increase the dancing time. You can reduce the teaching time and increase the confirmation with the dancers. By using that method, you can teach a full set of lessons from various various positions within the formation of the 2 couples, and the dancers will pick it up a lot longer. You know, if you have ends cross fold, just fold behind the ends, fall around, end facing the couple, you can teach sashayed inside out, upside down, and backward. Whereas in a square, 99% of it is crossover, girls turn back, wheel. Okay, now we're going to look at something else. We have to unteach that and go. Sicilian Circle doesn't allow you to cheat your calling. That's all beauties. It also makes callers work, but it's beneficial for the dancers when they get in the square. And you know, these are those are the movements that cannot be taught. However, like double pass through, you can vary it. First go left, next go right, you can vary it. Because you can't do a double pass through, but you can do a number 1 sachet and then get an, you know, star through or whatever you do. So you get 1 couple behind the other. You can do the zooms. You can do all sorts of first left, next right. Fair In a Sicilian circle, you vary it so everybody's doing the center's part. D8 chain through, you can't spin chain through. You can also vary that to do it in a big. That's that grand star. Yeah. There's not a heck of a lot that you cannot do in a circle. Okay, so I provided a list. I've got highlights, everything else in the speaking notes, but these are just, you know, and that's all they are. You can incorporate that. If I do head square through 4, and then everybody square through 3, boys run, girls run, square through 3, boys run, girls run. You're back in that footprint of home. That's a 2 couple 0. After the girls run, I can call an Alaman left. If I get to a line, heads lead to the right, circle to a line. Now, if I use this one, for instance, whoops, this one here, from that line, 2 ladies chain, go up to the middle, do a do-side-do, swing through, spin the top, swing through, spin the top, recycle. I'm back in that facing partner line. All of these things are just 2 couple zeros, and you can plug them in anywhere. Okay. I said earlier with 2 couples, you can use a lot of innovation as well. These things, and I'll provide all of this. I know because a lot of the choreography will probably go over a lot of people's heads. So all the information is here for you to look at and take back with you, look at it on your own and work with the dolls. But for instance, couple number 1 promenade halfway. So they promenade and they stand behind the other couple. Boys only, cloverleaf. Girls face in. Boys split the girls. First boy left, next boy right, around 1 to a line. Tag the line. Girls do a U-turn back, do-side-do, step to a 2-person wave. Boys run. You're right back where you started from. The only limitation on 2 couple dancing is the limitation you put on yourself. And most dancers would have absolutely no problem doing this. But if I say, you know, heads promenade, stand behind the sides, or promenade a quarter, stand behind the sides, in your own 4, boys cloverleaf and the girls face in. Boys split the girls, first boy left, next boy right, around 1 to a big long line. Tag your own line of 4. Girls turn back, do-side-do, step to a wave, boys run, Alaman left. Oh, suddenly that becomes very, very difficult because the whole square is there. I do that sequence in a circle, a Sicilian circle, and got that. I could call that in a square probably with just a little bit of prompting. Okay. Now, as I said, the notes I have a couple of pages of little examples of 2 couple calling. The attachment to this, I've got the Sicilian Circle, which is an article written by Daryl Clendenin, which Barry published in Behind the Mic, product placement. And then there's also an article called The Odd Couple, which is when you have 7 couples show up at a dance, no problem. It's all about the same kinds of things. So that's it. I will save that as a PDF and post it on the link. So is the share screen stopped? I hope it is.
No.
No, it's not. No, I thought I stopped that.
Yeah, you stopped it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I did stop the share screen.
Yes. I think Bob has a question.
Yeah, just 1 second. I'm just trying to. And full screen. It's the ability to post a document in there. I don't know why. Normally it's there where I can attach a file, but it doesn't seem to be there. Well, that's really weird.
Over in chat.
Normally it's the bottom right-hand side, but it's not on my screen. And I don't know why, because it's always there. So if anybody knows how to attach a file in a different way.
Under chat down at the bottom, see if you can do it there. I don't know, it's not on mine either. It's fine.
Does it say the word on the bottom of your chat window?
Yeah.
It used to.
Oh, mine does.
The last time this did to you, you had to log out.
Okay, well, I'm going to make you the, while I log out, and I'll log back in. So I've now made you the host. I will be back in about 30 seconds, I hope.
Let's go.
One 1,000, two 1,000, three 1,000, four 1,000, five 1,000, six 1,000. Somebody take, I'm running out of breath. Who can count to 30?
I couldn't get too much farther than you did, Daryl.
Is that what?
So I wouldn't be able to get too much farther than you did.
Okay. It'll be a long. I have a couple of questions for him.
He's back.
There he is.
And you're still muted, Mel.
All right, so let me just put these up here, and then I'll open and file.
Got it.
There you go.
Mike Gormley, did you see the chat where Arthur Ray replied to what question you asked? Did that answer?
Yes, and that was a good answer. In the past, when I mean by past, probably 15 years ago or so, we had a caller that was referring to mother a lot, and one of the dancers was getting quite, the husband was getting quite offended about it. But I don't hear it nowadays so much anymore, but I just wondered where it came from and why it was used. And that's a good explanation.
Did those, sorry to interrupt, did those documents go through?
Yes, they
Yeah.
did.
Two on the screen.
Yeah, I have no idea why, but I used to get the chat window on the side. I'm not getting that. I don't know what, I'm going to have to, probably a new version of it.
Are you in full screen?
No, I'm not.
Go to full screen, then you can put your chat window over and on the other screen.
Yeah, all right, it's there. On a completely, usually it's on the right-hand side of the gallery, but it's not doing that today. Okay, I do apologize for the technical difficulties, but hopefully it's there. If there were questions posted in the chat, I'm sorry I don't have them, so I'm going to be relying on you, Mark, for
There was only one in the chat, and Arthur answered it for him.
Okay, what was the question?
Where did the term mother come from?
Well, you see, a boy meets a girl, and then they get together, and long time on that one. The term mother is because it fits so well into patter and whatnot, and it was a common expression, and people used to say mother, and gentlemen used to call their wives mother. You know, I got to go home to mother and do this and do that, and it was a normal crossover drawback. There's a lot of history of all those. Men used to start a dance with a partner who would become, usually it's their wife or their partner, the woman they had kids with, or it would be mother down that line. For some reason, in this grand world of political correctness, the term seemed to become derogatory or suggestive. It's never intended. Quite frankly, my opinion is we've taken the world of political correctness beyond the extreme of reality. And if you can't handle being called, do-si-do with mother and promenade her home, well, then you got your priorities in the wrong spot. But that's just my own personal opinion. You had your hand up there?
I copy and pasted his answer in there so you can have it in your chat.
Okay, well, there you go.
And Bob had a question.
Sorry, Bob? We've lost Bob.
Not sure that I actually had a question. I just wanted to say that I danced for, I think, 30 years before I first saw Sicilian Circle used, and that was used during lessons by a caller who had 5 couples and wanted to make sure they were all involved. And I used it about a year ago at the National in the solo hall as a mixer because we were supposed to do something as a mixer, and I just thought that would work really well, and it did. And they really liked it.
Yeah. Did you notice when they moved from one couple to the next couple, the change in the attitude and the whoa, and it allows you to generate all that emotion and let them release it, because they'll perk up when they see a new couple coming. It's something different. It's something new every single time. And you using that as a mixer, I give you massive applause, because I have been to so many places where they say, oh, do a mixer. And what the mixer they do is the roll-away waltz for a square dance, which is absolutely, you know, a yawn fest. Patty cake polka, which is demeaning to anybody over the age of 7 years old, in my opinion. And these kinds of, they have a place, but not every square dance. I think Daryl, sorry, did you have anything else to add, Bob?
No, but thank you.
Yeah. Daryl, you had something to say?
Well, probably too much to say. But first, on the Sicilian Circle, I'm fairly familiar with it. Why is it you think that you can't do all the, do it circulates?
Oh, yeah, you can do circulates, but the movement all 8 circulate specifically.
Right.
The movement all 8 circulate and split circulate have a different connotation. But yes, you can do circulates. For instance, spin chain through and the insides and the outsides or the ends circulate to the next couple. That's one that you just have to add that little variation to it. It's like Ferris wheel. You can do a Ferris wheel in the Sicilian Circle. You just have to
spin chain through in a Sicilian Circle?
Absolutely.
Oh, you're a lot better at it than I am. I would never do that. Wouldn't know how to tell them. Never mind. But let me add this to the Sicilian Circle. For those of you who are new to sight resolution, let me tell you, sight resolution is 2-couple calling. It's 2-couple calling, period. Now, if you do your teaching of new dancers in the Sicilian Circle, and you pick out your couples each time they come together, and you call the material that you're going to have, teach the material that you're going to have, get them through it, move them on to the next. Now, you do realize, and I'm sure, we don't have too many newbies in this group here. I don't suppose. Talking to the newbies. Just nothing wrong with them teaching and calling in Sicilian circles. To me, for them to even consider sight resolution is way. But there's only 3 tools that a person needs to resolve any 2 normal facing couples. 3 tools, and they're very simple. There's right and left through, star through, and 2 ladies chain, right? Something that changes the configuration by 90 degrees, like a star through, or 180 degrees, like a right and left through, or 2 ladies chain, which is the partner change. With those 3 movements for normal facing couples, you can get them anywhere you want them. So, oh wait, I'm talking too much again. Sorry about that.
Sorry, I up there.
If you want to learn, sight resolution, start with 2 couples. And I've got a whole bunch I can tell you on how to use that within the grid, but I'm not going to do that right here and now. I take all of your time for your questions. Sorry about that.
No,
but,
don't be.
Yeah.
I put this up because what you were saying was valid. This is 2 couples. If you start there and you get them back to those footprints, you've done a 2 couple 0. And as we said, like Daryl said, actually I better ask, is my combinations up there for everybody to see?
Yes.
Yes.
Right and left through, that changes the side. Star through, that changes the partner and the direction.
Ladies.
8 chain changes the couples. Flutter wheel and sweep a quarter, that changes the partner and the direction. You know, star through, that pairs them up. Notice how they're changing aspects.
Tell you what I do.
You know, anything like they're back to that same footprint. That's a 2 couple 0 that you can, and that's a module. You can plug it in. I didn't call it as a module. It's isolated sites, but doing 2 couples becomes such a big part of calling in a square and learning the rest of the techniques that you're going to be finding these things left, right, and center. There's very little that you cannot do, as Daryl said. Go ahead, Daryl.
Do me a favor. Do it past the ocean. Okay. Recycle. Now that's not basic level calls, but okay, what do you need to do to get them back to where they started? Now, were the ones on the top, on the 3s on the bottom? I should have said, take a look at those.
All right, 1s are on the bottom, 3s are at the top normally.
So what's it going to take with those 3 movements, a right and left through, 2 ladies chain and start through? Those are tools that you have to work from normal facing couples. They will work for you every time from normal facing couples. But you can see that you've got that number 1 left, number 1 man, so you have to have a 2 ladies chain. So what's it take to put them back now? Start through, isn't it? Bang, just that quick, that easy. If you've got
magic movements.
Couples with 2 couples like this, and typically when I'm working in the Sicilian Circle, I do that. I do that intentionally. I resolve them back to their partner every time, facing the same direction that they were facing when they got there. So when they pass through and move on to the next 2, they're moving on to somebody different. That's one thing. But also, they know if they're taking their partner with them, they've done it right. Now, they don't have the element left, but if they've got their partner with them, they have the same feeling of accomplishment that they would have if they did the element left. With that, I will shut up. Thank you.
No, it's actually good that you mentioned that, because those are 3 movements that will get you out of 99% of the trouble you ever get into in square dance. Ladies chain can pretty much fix you or normalize you from anywhere. Anybody else have any questions, comments, points, something they want to discuss or look at? Yes, Guido. I can see the top of your head. You're going to have to put your monitor, your camera down a little bit.
Okay. I can see myself. So when I teach, when I use the Sicilian Circle, and sometimes for teaching, sometimes you see some couples have problems. I tell all the other couples to practice the call, and I turn my attention to the group of 4 that is having problems.
Yeah.
So I give everybody unattended practice time.
Okay.
This is a valuable thing I discovered in my classes.
Yeah. There's a plus and a minus to that. So let's say you've got, I don't know, 12 pairs of couples on the floor as an example.
Yep.
Okay. So you've got 10 pairs are all dancing, they're doing fine, and you're working, I don't know, Dixie style to an ocean wave. So star through, reverse flutter wheel. Dixie style to an ocean wave, you know, swing through and so on and so on and so on. And you've got that one couple that's going fine. Or you've got that one couple that's having problems. You turn your focus to them and you say, okay, everybody else just practice for a while and you're going to work with that couple. Well, essentially what you've done is you've told everybody else, this is not about you. What I would do, and it's a valid thing, and if that works for you and your group and you know the social dynamics of your group, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If that works for you and your group and they're okay with that, perfect. What I would probably do in my case would be have the ladies chain across and then pass through to move to a next. That way I've separated the boy and the girl that are having problems and move them to dancers that are not having problems. So you've got 3 that know how to do it, 1 that doesn't, and then just prompt them through the next one and then bring them back once they've got that. But there's a number of techniques, and sometimes what you're doing is absolutely necessary. Sometimes it's necessary to actually stop when you're teaching and help one couple get over a little problem.
Yes.
If it works for your group, by all means, do it. I personally might take a different approach. You know your dancers, and you know what your dancers need and what they expect. So I've always been a strong proponent of what works for you is the best for you and your group. If it works for them, if it's all about them, then that's what you should be doing.
It's all a matter of personality. And you also said you can use grand square in the Sicilian Circle. I also teach grand square in the Sicilian Circle because I only have 1/2 and nobody interferes.
Okay. Now sorry, I should have been much clearer. It's like when I said all 8 circulate.
No, not circle, grand square.
Yeah, no. When I said all 8 circulate, Daryl asked the same question. Yes, you can do grand square, you can do Ferris wheel. You have to make variations to the movement. You're not actually teaching that movement. You're teaching a part of that movement. Everybody do the heads part or everybody do the sides part.
Right.
Yes, you can teach it, but you're teaching a variation of the movement. About 88% of the movements themselves, though, you do not have to make any variation on. But yes, what movements you can teach is up to you and how innovative you are and how comfortable you are breaking them down and how comfortable your dancers are. Grand square, okay, we're all going to look at the heads part of grand square or the sides part of grand square. Ferris wheel, we're all going to look at the centers part of Ferris wheel. Load the boat, we're all going to look at the centers part of load the boat. I wouldn't try the ends part of load the boat in the Sicilian Circle. It's a long walk.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no, good comments. Good comments. Yes, Derek.
Yeah, one thing about that all 8 circulate. That's because you don't have 8.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
In the Sicilian Circle, I do like to teach the circulates. The end circulate, center circulate, and you could call everybody circulate. But I make a point of the couple circulate and the individual circulates, and you can have them all circulate, with pointing out the fact that somebody has to pass by somebody else to get to the next position, because circulates are not to the next people. That's something you might, if you plan on weights from waves in the Sicilian Circle.
Absolutely.
Hope that made sense.
I have 2 screens of people going here, so if you're on the screen and you're waving your hand, not able to see you, please do speak up. Does anybody have any questions, comments, point queries, anything they want to look at?
Well, I'm going to say that from my experience, the dancers really like Sicilian circles and the callers don't. And the reason I say that is because I was at a week and they had a call-orama, and so I called for the call-orama. The people squared up and I had them promenade the number 1 couple. You promenade around your square and you lead out to the outside. So they were all in a big, huge circle. All of the heads, which are couples 1 and turned around, they were facing couple 2 and 4. All of a sudden, in a Sicilian Circle, danced them around. The idea was to get them halfway around, meet the same people, and then get back in their square. Well, people jumped in, people jumped out. At the end of it, the bottom line was I had lots of comments. every comment from a dancer was positive. Every comment from a caller was negative. Found that extremely interesting.
It goes very much hand in hand of what I was saying with the introduction, learning from history. It's all about them. The technical aspects of calling, which is timing, which is their timing, comes in at number 6. 7, 8, 9, and 10 are about the caller learning the caller techniques, the technical techniques, the delivery techniques, and the choreography. But when you think about it, to be a success in this game, 1 through 6 is all focused on the dancers having fun, enjoying themselves, being sociable, working and learning and having a great time. A Sicilian Circle does that. The reason a lot of callers don't use a Sicilian Circle is because it means they have to actually go back and look at the choreography and how to use the choreography for what it is to give the dancers a good time, and change their focus onto the dancers and off of themselves. At big festivals, callers are selling themselves. They want the square, they want to show, look at my choreography, look at my singing call performance. And they're not focused on the dancers the way they should be a lot of the time. That's a personal opinion, but I see it an awful lot. It's always got to be about the dancers. And what you did, Janet, what the other callers said to you, I think the political correct term is tough noogies, guys. It's not about you. It's about the dancers on the floor, and they like it. So I'll bet you those dancers will ask you back before the other callers will.
Well, the comment that stuck in my mind, there were 2 of them, and the one said, with people don't get to dance with because they're always squaring up with the same people. They don't dance with outside people.
Yeah.
And the second one that I really liked was, it was a lot more festive, like a party atmosphere.
What's that tell you about the Sicilian Circle? It's an old, I mean, the Sicilian Circle goes back before the 1600s as 2 couple dancing in various forms. It's used in almost every folk dance around the world in various forms. It interacts couples, it socializes couples in various forms. Why did we stop doing that? Why did we stop giving the dancers fun? And the only reason I can think of is it became more about the technical side of calling than it did about the dancers having fun and succeeding. It's a great teaching tool, a great review tool, and a great just fun social tool to use occasionally. Why did we stop using it? I have no idea.
I have no answer for that. But I will say this, that I did quite a lot of traveling up until I retired from the profession, all right? And I used to really enjoy walking into a dance hall where I'd never been before, to call for a club, and going up to the president and asking him, would it be all right if I start this dance any way that I want to? They think for a minute or two, and they say, hey, it's your dance, you call it. So what I do is I would get everybody, for the first tip, everybody make one big ring around the circle. Then one big ring around the hall there. Get everybody out on the floor in the big circle. And of course, they all kind of look at each other and figure, well, what the heck's going on? Am I going to a beginner lesson or something? Because that's what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I start out by doing very simple Allemande left, Alamo style, swing through, left, swing through, Allemande left, get them into the promenade. Get them all promenading around the hall. Then I'll say, freeze, stop. Sir, right down in front of me, will you and your partner wheel around to face pair behind? If they'll do it, I say, okay, now every other couple do the same thing. And I have my Sicilian Circle. From that point on, there's very little that I can't call in the way of very simple or very challenging combinations.
Mm-hmm. 2
couple combinations, because practically everything that we call is 2 couple. So you can have your 2-phase line, half tag box, circulate, boys run, the reverse flutter with blah, 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 on and on and on and on, then get them back to facing, move on, pass through, move on to the next couple. And you call a tip of that, they're going to do everything that they would do if they were in a square. You're not insulting anybody. And that's what they worry about with the Sicilian Circle, is that you're going to insult them. You're not going to insult them if you call good material. It's the same material you'd be calling anyway. You can't do, like you say, an all 8 circle or an 18 through. You can do a zoom because you can set up an inside circle and outside circle just by saying start through. So if you got an inside circle, outside circle, you can say dive through. Well, the ones that the inside's arch and dive through, whoever made the arch, California twirl, you got a couple ahead of the other couple, call a zoom. You can put a centers in from there, cast all 3. That you can do so much with it. You're not going to insult anybody, and it's not hard material. It's the same material that you would call if you were in a square. And I've had so many people after that introduction, and it's an introduction of myself. When I walk into a hall full of strangers, they come up and they say, my gosh, that was fun. I've never seen that before. Well, it's just a great, great way to start a dance. It really is, because it wakes them up and it gives you sight resolution callers a chance to see who can and can't make it. See who belongs with who there. It's a tool. It's a tool that you can use that's going to make your calling easier. And I like it as easy as possible. Like I say, I'm a simple-minded guy. I don't like things hard. I like all my rules simple and easy. Well, it's easier to call to those 2 couples out there than it is to call to the 4 couples that are banging together. At least it wasn't one time. Now I just say, okay, it's just 2 couples anyway. I'll shut up. It's enough.
I'd like to add on to that. When you said you get everybody up in a big circle, there is a general, oh, he's going to do a welcome circle up to the middle and back, alum and left, right and left grand, along the hall. Oh, yeah, okay, this is the standard thing. Once you get into that, I like to do an allemande left and promenade and then say, right, every second couple, wheel around. I don't tell them who starts. I let them figure it out. It's a bit of a laugh. It may take about 5 or 6 seconds extra until they sort it out, do a do-side-do, and we'll have a couple of couples, and they sort themselves out quickly. It's a bit of fun. But what happens is, once you start calling, you know, touch a quarter, box, circulate, boys run, reverse flutter wheel, etc., they go, oh my God, we're actually dancing here. The expectation of, oh, he's starting us off at basic, to a sudden surprise of, we're dancing some really tough stuff that we have trouble with on the floor, and we're doing this simple, and we're going, that whole mood of the floor lifts. They're socially interacting, their presence lifts, the cliques are broken, and as Daryl says, you can easily see who the couple pairings are. You can use that to your advantage to see who's going to dance with who. It is such a great tool. If you're teaching a class, I highly recommend that every class that you do, you start with a Sicilian Circle, because it's the best thing you can use to review all the material you've done with every dancer. And if somebody comes in late, they can jump in, pick a direction, and somebody will come to you. Just teach some couple to wait, and somebody will be there in a second. Excellent point, Daryl. It is one of the big icebreakers that is so underused. Comments, questions, points? I know we've got a lot of experienced callers. I see Jeff and Barry there. Have you guys used this at all in your systems?
Yes, I have. It's simple as Daryl said, and you've said, it's simple to set up. Use it. Why not?
And what's really nice about it too is, if you're opening patter, if you're starting the evening off, you might even start a couple minutes early. If your dancers are there, you can go. You don't have to end with a singing call on a Sicilian Circle. The Sicilian Circle itself is the reward. So it gives you that break to expand, come back, and then you set the tone for the evening at this level. If you've got even dancers, you can, but you don't have to. Barry, did you have a comment there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Talk, Daryl.
Oh, okay. I didn't say how I finished this Sicilian Circle. Usually what I do is I say pass through, move on to the next two, circle up 4, pick up 4, circle up 8. Just like that. Someone might have to scatter to find another 4 dancer couples to get in with, but they'll make squares. I say stop when you find a place, call home. Then I can do a singing call for them.
Yeah.
But
And that
usually end
that works if you have the right number of couples. Having odd couples out.
Usually somebody's come in and they'll jump out and fill in.
Yep.
But, yeah.
Like I said, the only limitation is the limitations you put on yourself with this. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, many years ago, I know we used to use Sicilian circles for most of our teaching. And it seems to me from memory that it was when we had a lot less calls to teach than we have these days. It was a great teaching tool, but it wasn't just a teaching tool in itself. It was fun to do, as you mentioned before. The dancers always enjoyed it. You always had laughs and smiles. And I also can remember that often when we were doing weekends or festivals, you would end in a Sicilian Circle, and even with 100 people in the hall or more, you'd still end with a Sicilian Circle. And quite often you could use a gimmick where you'd end up everybody facing in, and you'd do some sort of a stupid gimmick like having all the ladies chain across, and give them about 5 seconds and then chain them back. And you could do all sorts of fun stuff in it. It's not just limited to teaching and utilizing movements, but you can have a great lot of fun with it, and it's still just as valid today.
Yeah. And when you've got 40 couples on the floor and you say all the boys make a left-hand star.
Oh, yeah.
Pick up your partner, star promenade. It takes a while, but believe it or not, it is so enjoyable because it's such a laugh.
Yep.
Guido, you had your hand raised.
Yes. But if you're using the Sicilian Circle for the first or second time, if you're new at it, just be aware that it's more exhausting for your dancers because they have less pauses than they have in a regular square.
Yeah. That is probably the most valid point. I've actually seen that happen. It is a very common thing if you're having success on a Sicilian Circle to start an evening, to have them go, 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 go. This is where Daryl's credo, keep it short and simple, rather than keep it simple, stupid. Keep it short and simple. Short routines with the couples and a short Sicilian Circle. A Sicilian Circle should never be any longer than about a 6 or an 8 minute patter record. If you're using it as that, it should never be longer than a tip with a proper break at the tip if you're not doing a singing call after. It is easy to get overrun and get caught up with it, and you will exhaust your dancers. So excellent point. That's why we have alarm clocks on our square dance programs now.
Well, Alan Kerr.
Yes, Alan.
Just make 2 points that I like about it. To do with repetition and not repetition. So you have that flexibility of being able to repeat modules if there's difficulties, or if you teach from repetition to varying, ability so easily available. The other aspect is that it keeps some of the attributes of contra dancing, and what some of the attributes of why contra is still popular in the square dance activity by using the Sicilian Circle. They're the 2 points I'd make.
Yeah, and as both Guido and Daryl have said, most of the movements you have, when this came out in origin, everything was 8 beats. A do-si-do was 8 beats. An Allemande left was 8 beats. Everything was. Now the timing has changed so radically. With a Sicilian Circle, for instance, there's on that link, there's a video to, I believe it's called a Grand Chain Star, which was done in the Sicilian Circle. And it shows how to do that. You'll notice the variation where you get the ladies star and then the 2 ladies meet and they sort of chain across and go to the next group and so on down the line, and then the boys repeat. The timing is varied for that, and it changes from 8 to 6, from 8 to 6, and all that other kind of stuff. As Daryl said, when you do everybody circulate, the only reason you don't do all 8 circulate is because you don't have 8 dancers. Everybody circulate. They may be 2 feet apart, or they may be 10 feet apart. You just make those allowances of where they have to go. But the nice thing about it is it really cements the formations. The 2 couple formations, it really cements traffic flow and patterns. All 8 or everybody circulate cements that you're not going to a person, you're going to a position, and that position could be somewhere. In a Sicilian circle, if you call everybody circulate, all of the pairings disappear. So the dancers become aware of positions back to the next formation. There are so many bonuses of it. And you know, very, very valid point. Contra dancings, if you don't have enough dancers for a circle, set it up with a line down the hall and just have it, if you're on the end facing out, do a California twirl. And you can do exactly the same thing over and over and over again. That's the same formula that they use for squares. It's used in contras, it's used everywhere. Why do we not use it anymore? Maybe because callers put the focus on themselves and the dancers. That's the only explanation I can come up with. Other comments? Look at something?
I said before about the dancers, it's also exhausting for callers who never did it. You have to think faster.
Yeah, but callers are idiots. We'll go and go and go until our heads explode. Especially new callers, or you know, and it's true. A caller will get out, start calling at 8 o'clock in the morning at a festival for an open dance, start the workshop at 10, go till noon, take 15 minutes to grab a bite, have something, call till 5 o'clock, home, have a shower, have something to eat, come back to the hall at 6:30 to dance for 7, call until 11 o'clock, and then sit discussing square dancing until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, I look at Barry. Barry had some friends over that were callers, and they, you know, just 2 people without the dance were still going until 2 o'clock in the morning. Callers are absolutely insane. We do this to ourselves. We punish ourselves terribly. And that's why I really stress your point, Guido. We don't know when to stop. So we really have to be aware that
when you call Sicilian circles or mini squares, you get much, as a caller, you get much more exhausted because you have to think faster. You also don't have a time. You don't have calls like a spin chant through to have you pause. Yep. You have one call after the other, and all those calls are go 4, 5, 4, 6, or in maximum 8 beats.
Yep.
I never noticed that personally. It was the first tip of the night if it were a dance. They're not that tired, and I'm certainly not like this. So don't call that. Make it the length of a normal tip. I don't think you're going to wear it out. It's not like doing hot hash. And of course, Mel and Alan, you start talking contras and squares. When hash calling came into the picture, it started away from all of the circle figures, the stars, things like that, and the swinging, 180, and da-da-da-da. That's all the result of the hash coming into the picture. Everything has changed through the years from that in particular. It's become all about grid choreography, for a better, lack of a better term.
Can I ask a quick question? What is hot hash? What is? I've never heard of it before.
Okay, before anybody answers that, how many callers have we got in this room? 7. So you're asking, what is hot hash? If we ask all 27, we should 136 answers.
Well, that
for me, my definition of hot hash and somebody else is very different. But to me, hot hash is a smooth flowing, continuous calling that doesn't have a lot of breaks to the Alaman left or the promenade. It's a long sequence of calling. Those sequences that I put up were relatively simple dancing, but they were long sequences that the dancers didn't have a break. They moved concurrently from one movement to the next movement to the next movement to the next movement to the next movement without pause. To me, that's hot hash.
So,
and you have a lot of, for some callers, it may be, we're going to increase the speed from 124 to 132, and we're going to call that hot hash. And yet they call with stop and go timing. It's smooth flowing, fast, concurrent, short choreography that just goes head, square through forward, and get four hands around you, go all the way, do the right and left through and dive through and center forward, pass through, do a do-side-do, touch a quarter, whatever. You do the movements on time, but there is no break. There's no time to think. So your lead time has to be good. Your dance time has to be good. And yeah, that's just the way I look at hot hash. Some callers may look at it differently. Daryl, you made one point on there, and it goes hand in hand with Guido's. I have found I can usually tell with callers that use a Sicilian Circle and callers that don't use a Sicilian Circle based on their timing and delivery of their calling. And that goes really well with what Guido says. When you're calling in a Sicilian Circle, you don't have time to stop and see where they are and do that movement like Ferris wheel or spin chain through or relay the deucey that gives you time to think and lets the dancers dance. You are thinking, you are timing, you've got to be 2 beats ahead. Square through takes 10. You got to know that on beat 7, the next beat I have to deliver right and left through or whatever. You have to know that your timing will improve significantly. Somebody had a hand raised down there. Is that you, Guido? No?
I think it was Jeff saying goodbye.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Mel, I've got a question. So we talked a little about this being a good teaching tool for classes. And I guess my question is, with a beginning class, at what point would you introduce this as the very first thing, or would you do some rudimentary definitions within a square before you launched into this, or how would that go back and forth?
Well, I've got an open hall. Let's just say I've got an open hall. I get everybody in a big circle. Do an Alaman left your corner. You know, I would teach these things, but let's just say Alaman left your corner, do a do-side-do your partner. Go back to your corner, Alaman left. I might do all the men make a right-hand star, pass your partner, find your corner, Alaman left, right and left grand, all the way around, promenade. Okay. Now, I've done a big circle type mixer, and then I take a break. The next one, I'll put them right back in the same thing, and I'll do exactly what Daryl said. The couple in front of me, okay? I want you just to turn around, face the couple behind you, and then every second couple turn around, face the couple behind you. We're going to look at it. Instead of do-side-doing your partner, do a do-side-do with the person in front of you. Okay? As a couple, we're going to weave the ring. Okay? We're doing veer left, veer right, but we're going to weave the ring as a couple. Get them used to that interacting with other couples. Get them used to that transition. There is so much you can do, and most of your movements are in 2-couple dancing. So why not use it to your advantage? You have to be comfortable with it, but I can guarantee you that, you know, working in a Sicilian Circle, the first 2 tips on an open dance, you can do so much more of what you want to achieve. You can do a star through, you can do a forward and back, you can do a veer to the left, you can do a California twirl or a partner trade, you can do a weave the ring, you can do a right and left grand, you can do it both ways. Very, very simple, that the dancers can have fun with it, so that when you do put them in squares, all of this is familiar, instead of taking the time to put them in squares and teach them the squared, you know, all of that other kind of stuff. It's a great little teaching tool that you can use at any level at any time, but you have to be comfortable with it and prepare. Masako, you had somebody. Sicilian Circle, I'll see you next time. Okay, bye, Masako.
Daryl had a comment.
Daryl.
I was just going to say that I always start with a big circle, because you can circle left, circle right, roll the waves, you know, all of that stuff, and right and left grand, and promenade, and back out, make a big. It's all very simple for the first night of beginner class. And I do get into the Sicilian Circle. I don't necessarily do it before I get them into squares. I will start in the big ring just for the Alaman lefts and right and left grands and lead, but I wind up getting them into the squares so I can do the square identification, and the promenade half and the promenade full, the whole schmear. For anybody interested, and I'm not this is not a commercial plug, but I did write a booklet. It's been out since I think I wrote it in 1990 on the Sicilian Circle, and it is still available for anybody interested. But trust me, I'm not trying to sell books here. But it is a 20 lesson thing. When I wrote it trying to put something together for the newbie callers who'd never taught a class before. A very simple way to do it. So that's probably where you got your article, is it, Mel?
No, it's one that you actually submitted. I think you had it published in a short version. I think it might have been to American Square Dance or one of the other note services that we pulled it and we got permission to use it out of that. That's why I sent it back to you saying, are you okay with us publishing that? That was, I think, in 2018 or early 2019 we published that, Barry?
I have noticed one thing. Callers, particularly the newer ones, are very, very reluctant to ask their questions here. Can I tell them that I'm willing to answer their questions? I will respond to them if they email me, and that takes you out of the group as such. I know that, but I will answer your questions, help any way I can.
Yes, Mark.
Just something I thought when you were talking about the Sicilian circles, and somebody said something about the caller has to work a lot harder because they don't get a break. Thought that popped in my head was, instead of pass through, having them do a veer left and then couples circulate 16 times.
Yeah. It is one in the actual notes. When I was giving the presentation, I mentioned things like half sachet star through, move to the next, or veer left, veer right, move to the next. Any variation of pass through, such as square through 3, if you want to have a change of direction on the pass through and bring them back together. There's a number of those that are in the actual notes that were attached to the presentation of different things you can use. But basically, any equivalent of a pass through or any equivalent of a square through 3 means a progression. Anything, if you're looking at whole figures that have a trade by in them that end in a box, just change the word trade by to move to the next, and you've got another sequence to move to the next couple of dancers. It all works like that with the Sicilian Circle itself. I really, really want to stress this. Everything that we said about the Sicilian Circle, what it can do, what you can do with it, what you can use, is a tool for the caller's toolbox. The reason I want to stress it's a tool that is different than any other tool you have in your toolbox, because it is the one tool that you have that is not about the choreography, it's not about the resolution, it's not about the technique, it's not about modules, it's not about definitions, it's about the dancers. Everything can incorporate what movements you use, that's the choreography and all that, but the Sicilian Circle is a tool that stands alone, and it's a very powerful tool. The Sicilian Circle is a tool very much like a square is a tool. What can you do in a square? Everything. What can you do in a Sicilian Circle? Everything. It's an item. It's a formation in itself that has all of this stuff incorporated in it. So don't be scared to use it. But if you are going to use it, make sure you practice a little bit beforehand of what you want to see what it does. And you can do that with your dolls. You can do that with your checkers. You can do that with anything. Yolanda, you had a question.
Yeah, I found that I've been dancing in Sicilian circles for several years with the beginners, and they find it less intimidating than actually having to start in a square. So by the time we actually get into the square, they already have some of the movements, and then so when they actually go in there, it's like, oh, this isn't quite as tough. I was really scared to go into a square because I'm not a square dancer yet, blah, 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 right?
Yep.
So this way, they mostly dance in a circle before. So this works better.
That is exactly, if you remember right at the beginning, that was the history lesson.
Yeah.
The caller prompted start at 6 steps, then face in, pass through, and do it again, or whatever it was he prompted. Okay? All of that prelim, that new stuff was taught in the Sicilian Circle using prompt. Radical concepts. I'm not moving with my partner, I'm moving against my partner. I'm going in a whole different direction. It was done in a Sicilian Circle in prompts well before he put it into the square. He was able to teach it there, and that's exactly what you're saying. A lot of dancers worried about the distraction of the other couples. Oh, heads, do this. Oh my God, the side couples are judging me. I better do this right. They're watching me. They're standing there not doing anything. In a Sicilian Circle, you don't care because everybody else has got to do their own thing at the same time.
Well,
and all that stress goes away at the dancers.
Well, not only that, but if you have two new dancers as a couple and they're both really, really new, you can split them up in one movement and then put them back together again and nobody's feelings are hurt.
Yep. I'm going to show you the power of a Sicilian Circle very, very simply. Right here. Okay, can you see? Whoops. Can you see my screen there?
Yes.
So you've got two dancing. I can call right and left through, pass through, part, right? I now have 4 couples. I can call right and left through, pass through, partner trade. I now have 6 couples. Right and left through, flutter wheel, star through, veer left, bend the line, pass through, partner trade. Okay? And, oh, look at that. I got a new couple came in and another new couple come in. I've now got 27 couples on the floor. I can call, swing through, spin the top, slide through, pass through, move to the next. I've now got 58 couples on the floor. I can call, swing through. All the girls circulate around the outside. All the boys circulate around the inside. Boys run around a girl, bend the line. What have I actually changed? Absolutely nothing. I'm calling to 2 couples all the time. If I want to keep that pairing together, I do it when the 2 couples are there. If I want to break dancers apart, I break them apart, I move them to 2 new couples, and I start with keeping a new 2-couple pairing. But it doesn't matter if you've got 2 couples, 4 couples, 8 couples, 237,612 couples, if you're that lucky. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. But it's still, for the most part, 2-couple dancing. And that is the magic of 2-couple dancing. That's the magic of the Sicilian Circle. You can move to the next, and suddenly they're all learning, having fun, interacting, and it doesn't feel like square dancing, but they're learning the square dance stuff so quickly, so universally, so interactively that they're having fun do it. When you get them into squares, they don't even think about it anymore. Excellent point, Yolanda.
Yeah, and it's also good if have you ever had a couple come in and on the way to square dancing, they've had in the car, and you can just feel the static in the air. You throw me the Sicilian and you can split them up and
Yep.
nobody,
Oh yeah, it's really good for breaking up problem children too. Yes, Guido.
There's another point that's very valuable. Dancers often complain about choreography being too repetitive. In the Sicilian Circle, I like to use Sicilian circles or contrast for that case. Then I can repeat choreography, the same piece of choreography, several times without interruption, and the dancers don't complain.
Where you have redundant choreography, and I believe, Barry, you made this comment in one of Dawn's presentations, and I think Steve Turner did the same thing. We do what's called rubber banding. So we'll do head square through, and we've got that corner box. So we've got number 4 couple, number 1 man, number 3 lady, and we keep them together the whole time. We move them up into the top quadrant. We move them over to the other quadrant. We move them back to the home quadrant. And we keep them together. And that's why the choreography tends to be redundant, or worse, we keep them on that one side all the time without doing any crossovers or interactions. That's where the choreography is redundant. But if you do a pass through, move to the next, and do the same thing, and then pass through, move to the next, do some little tiny thing different, pass through, move to the next, and do the same thing. You can do it over and over and over. It's going to feel different because it's new people, it's a new flow, it might be a new direction, it might be anything else. So what you're saying is absolutely valid. Working with dancers and interacting with new dancers makes the same thing feel different. And it really, really works, because it's not the choreography that's different, it's the smile on the person's face you're dancing with. Have you ever walked up to somebody and say, "Hi, my name's Mel, how do you like me so far?" And somebody will smile at you and laugh, and somebody will go, "Well, you're an idiot." And you say, "Well, it was nice to meet you too." And you pass through and you move to the next and you say, "Hi, my name's Mel, how do you like me so far?" "Oh, fine, hey, I've seen you before." I'm saying exactly the same thing, but the whole feeling is different. And as Yolanda said, if you've got two problem children, you can break them up. That interaction will make your floor happy. A happy floor is a good floor. Short and simple, away you go. And you'll find is they want to bring their friends to the dance. And suddenly, oh my God, the worst thing that could possibly happen is the halls will fill up of dancers that are smiling and happy and actually want to dance again. And in my way of thinking, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, there's some great advantages when you have two groups in the one venue, your regular club and a class, and you've taught something new in the class, and then they may not have met all the other members in the main club. And so the Sicilian Circle is a great way then to level and allow the new dancers to join in, particularly towards the end of the evening, and get to know everybody. And just do what they've learnt, and the others all enjoy just meeting the new people.
What I'm finding fascinating is people that actually use this, most of the advantages that they're saying are for the dancers, which is great. What Alan said right there, this is the strongest part of square dancing that we don't teach anymore as callers or as prompters, as leaders. That's not about the choreography. Very little has been discussed about the choreography other than you can repeat it and it feels good, and you can teach it and it feels good. It's all about the dancers. It's all about them having a good time. It's about the sociability. You can interact, you can mix them up, you can break them up, you can move them where you want them and give them a good time. That's got nothing to do with the technical definition of how far 270 degrees is on a cloverleaf if you're doing it from an inverted diamond from a reverse galaxy formation. I don't even know if that's possible. I'm just making crap up now, which is not unusual. But that's where the focus on callers seemed to got shifted for some reason. Instead of, hey, that dancer's smiling, having a good time, and they did the Alaman left and they promenaded home, and they're laughing. Oh my God, they're going to bring their friends next week. This is a good thing. It's really, really good. It's all about sociability and interaction.
What I like is the Sicilian Circle is when we're doing it, they're learning the basics right up front, and then I break them down into lines into squares of 4, mini squares, doing the calls, and then I'll put them into a square of 8, depending on how long the night's going to be, and have them tell them those facing me do this, and now the others do this as a call. So that they're learning now that, okay, while they're doing it, I'm standing still. I don't move. Yeah. And it worked pretty good, and they understand, and they learn the calls pretty well now. And everybody's moving all the time with the Sicilian Circle, which is great.
Yeah. It's a very, very powerful tool in your toolbox. And it's one that, for some reason, I don't know when it happened. I can't speak for Australia. I know in Germany, it was used extensively through the early 80s. Almost every dance started with it. In Canada, some callers used it, some callers didn't through the 80s and 90s, and then it just sort of disappeared. In the States, I went down to the States, and the first time I did one down there was, what is this? We're not babies. And it was a sudden surprise, that, as was pointed out, oh, wow, this is actually fun. We can do this. I can't speak for Australia. Mary, maybe Barry or Jeff, or you can say if that's happened. Was it sort of a systemic thing, or was it just an individual personality thing?
Individual.
Yeah. And yet it's such a versatile tool that we don't use, and I don't know why.
Actually, the dancers brought it back one year from, they had been dancing during the, and one of the callers had used it, and they actually requested it.
Mm. Yeah. Yes, Ross.
Yeah, for dancing 25 odd years, I've hardly ever done a Sicilian circle. Probably times I've done it is the end of the night when they're just saying goodbye to it. So I've rarely seen it.
Yeah. So that's what we normally hear is the end of the evening. We have a big circle type mixer, which is an Alaman left, a right and left grand. Say goodnight, everybody. Meet your partner. Take her home. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. That's not exactly a Sicilian circle. There be some of that interaction. I love to do it of an evening if I've got it, because it's such a powerful teaching tool. But it's not something you want to do all the time in the middle of your square, because they're there to square dance. What a square, they need a break. But a start of an evening, the end of an evening, if you want to do that, but a circle mixer ending, say goodnight to everybody is great. Very European, they do that all the time. A Sicilian circle to start the evening sets a mood at a level that's here if you pull it off. And it will do nothing but continue to grow from there. It's very hard to come down off a really, really good start, a good feeling. If you've ever gone to a party and everything's there and everything's lively and wow, that was a great time in the first half hour of your party, and then it just sort of got pretty average afterwards, you're going to leave that party saying, you know what? I really enjoyed that party. It wasn't the greatest, but I really enjoyed that. I think I'd go back there again. And it doesn't matter how bad your dance is, unless it's absolute crap, your dancers are still going to be on a high if they start with a high and you end with a high. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, points, queries, anything you wanted to look at?
I think it was very informative what you went through tonight. It was very good.
Thank you. I would like to point out most of that work, although I presented it, belongs to Daryl Clendenin and Cal Campbell and a couple of others. I use it extensively, but it's been around a lot longer than I have been. Like I said, it's been around longer than everybody who's on the net right now. If you added all their ages together, it's been around longer than that, except maybe Barry. Hi, Barry. Oh, sorry, Scotty, I didn't see you there. You're probably older than Barry.
We're both good looking, but.
True.
Oh, if nobody has anything else, we might terminate this. My wife will probably have some work for me to do for a change.
I was hoping that Jaden Frigo could join us this morning. He's been here for a few days. Like when two callers get together, as you did mention before, we tend to stay up to choreography all hours. Well, I think after Wednesday night, he drove, the 12 hours to get here. Then we talked till 4 in the morning. Then I think Thursday it was 3. Saturday it was 2:30, and so. But Jaden's only 22 years of age, so we all know what our kids and grandkids are like at that age. They go to bed late and get out of bed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and Jaden is typical.
So I would like to, before I sign off, just point out I've asked Daryl. Because a lot of the newer callers especially have a lot of questions for Daryl. A lot of them have been contacting him directly, as they have with Don Beck on mental image and a few other things, setting these up. I've asked Daryl if he would like to come and just give a foundation presentation on the basics of calling, taking it back to the basics, what you really need to learn as a new caller to start with, from his perspective, because he's got a lot of experience. We do a lot of topics here, and we cover a lot of things in detail, which provide the notes. Because in that note pages, you'll see a lot of facing couple zeros. You'll see a 2 couple that you can actually take on your own time. If we were to do everything in detail, we'd be 37 hours. I talk a lot, but I do spend 37 hours here. So that's there. You've got the presentation. You'll get this. But Daryl, I've asked him to come in. I've also asked Jaden to come in sometime in the future. As Barry said, Jaden's a young caller. At one time, I believe, and I'm not sure if he's still doing it, but he was doing 4 or 5 days a week, as well as evenings.
He's still doing 7 classes a week.
Seven classes a week, as well as calling regularly, traveling to the States.
7 clubs a week, I should say.
And he runs the gamut, although most of the clubs and whatnot are older dancers. He's a young caller, and he's got younger dancers, he's got mid-range dancers, he's got older dancers. I thought I'd get him in to speak on that perspective, because it's bridging that gap between the old and the young that we seem to lose. I looked in the mirror the other day and I realized, I consider myself I'm not a young caller, I'm pushing 60. And if we go down that road, I don't have the same relationship as I did with, high school kids and people in their 20s and 30s as I used to do. I can still pull it off, but I have to work a hell of a lot harder at it. But Jaden has managed to successfully bridge that gap between the young, the old, being a young caller, teaching to seniors, to teaching to juniors, to teaching to whatever, and traveling. He's getting well known. And I thought it would be good to have him to bring in his perspective so that newer callers could pick his brains, because that's always one of the things that, well, quite frankly, it pisses me off, as I see new callers treating old people as if they're ancient and incapable and deaf and stupid and 4 years old, or teaching high school as if they're 4 years old and teaching 4-year-olds as if they're adults. And it just doesn't work on any level. Well, he's managed to successfully do it. It'd be good to have him come in and give his perspective. And I'm quite sure, I hope a lot of you tune in on that, because there's a lot of you that do call to different people. You might have other perspectives that are well worth sharing with new callers.
I have one last comment there. I'd like to thank bringing you for your behind. It's really a great publication. There's a lot of information in there that comes through. And really doing a great job on putting it together.
It's a lot. Issue. We're working on the July issue at the moment. All being well, or out at the beginning of July.
That being said, I sent you part 1 and part 2 to 6 couples.
Yeah, I saw.
Okay, you sent me some more material. I've got the same email from you 6 times. I don't know if you're resending it or if it's a glitch. So
I'm just making sure you actually get it.
Yeah, and I did find the original article. You sent that to me in February last year. I lost it somewhere.
Well, that's to be expected. So
yeah. I'm getting old. The mind's only the second thing to go.
Yeah.
Mark, you had your hand up for something.
Yeah, I just noticed that I am not recording. So my thought is that when you came back in and I made you host again, that it stopped then. So.
Uh-oh. We may have to get a hold. Richard, are you still recording? Or Janet?
I am still recording, yes.
Okay. I may end up getting either you or Richard to put it on the cloud so I can upload it again. The wonders of technology.
Yep. That's what I'm guessing, because I'm not recording anymore. So I'm guessing it stopped it when I transferred the host back to you.
Yeah, well, Richard saved my bacon on the one session that you were unable to take. So if Richard's still there, Richard?
Yes.
No,
yeah, still here.
Okay. Oh, no, sorry, Richard Williams. Are you recording too, Richard?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, well, if one of you could send it to me or send me a cloud link, I can upload it onto Facebook then.
That was close to the end. Close to the end. You were trying to send the files.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know what was going on there. So,
Richard, if you want to do that first, I'll give you first opportunity to do that. Do you want to do that?
well, if you've got it to where the files were sending out, then the presentation was over.
Yeah.
And everything else is just discussion. So.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yep,
so that.
I'll let you know when I leave the meeting and it gets done. I'll see how far it went.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, I'm gonna hop off and go eat dinner. You have a good one.
See you, Mark.
Okay, well, the floor is open for comments on anything. As was noted, Barry Wanson's with us. He is the producer, creator, and inspiration for Behind the Mic magazine. It's a follow-on of another magazine that was done here. And he's run a note service since, I think, 1827. I think your first was on the Gutenberg press or something like that.
Your memory is better than mine.
But we encourage very strongly, if you have issues, questions about any of the articles that we put out, any of the commentary that gets put out, any of the editorials that Barry puts out, some of the contributors that we have, or the notes of the choreography, by all means, send Barry an email. We try to respond to every single email. If you have a or something that you've written or something that you think might be of interest, put it together and send it at it. But we try and for everybody. And as noted by many of you here, we might sometimes put an article, 2 articles on this topic, coming at it from different points of view, and they don't necessarily agree with each other. That's why we method that works for calling is the one that works for you.
Yeah.
What you do with the Sicilian Circle, if that works well with your group and they enjoy it, you're doing it right.
Perfect.
It may not be what I do. It may be what somebody else is doing, what somebody else has done, but that's what's right. And if you have something that you want to get out there to the world, by all means, send it. We do ask that you double check your choreography when you submit it. I have a tendency of, right now, I've got a really, really bad back and I'm on painkillers and very, very powerful, powerful medication. And I'm still writing choreography at 2 o'clock in the morning. And as Barry pointed out the other day when we were talking, some of my choreography looks like it was written at 2 o'clock in the morning by somebody on drugs. Well, it was.
With very hairy hands and lots of hair over their body.
Double check the choreo. We do try and check it all, but as with any choreography that you get in any note service, and there's lots of them out there, it's always a good idea to check the choreography before you use it. Never take it for granted that it works, because it doesn't always work.
Mine does.
Yeah, after I've corrected it.
No. The there where the recording should be, but the folder is completely empty and it never started trying to process, so I lost everything.
That's probably what happened when I dropped out. I hope that didn't happen with Richard's. If not, well,
I think it's because I was host and transferred it back to you.
It could be. At any point, the PowerPoint presentation and the complete notes with all the choreography, the list of all of the movements highlighted, what can and can't be done, is there in a Word document or in a PDF document. PowerPoint presentation. That. There's nothing in there that hasn't been presented. And there's actually more in the notes than I presented in the PowerPoint presentation. So it may take a little bit of extra work, but it is all there.
Okay, can I ask? Okay.
Go ahead.
So I accidentally recorded it. So how do I actually see?
When you stop the meeting, it'll tell you that it's processed, and it'll create a file on your computer. Then it'll have a video file, an audio file, a couple of things. It puts it into a little. Those is the video file, which is the acting of it. It takes a lot of time if you are recording now, I would strongly recommend you stop, because the one I did with the singing calls, after the presentation discussion went on, that was 978 megabytes.
Okay, how do I stop it?
Just go on the record, just go stop recording.
Oh, so just hit the record button again and it will stop.
It should stop.
Okay.
As one of my exes used to say, don't should on me, but that should work.
And you may not actually have been recording, because you should see in your participants list a little red dot showing that that person is recording. And Richard and I are the two who have red dots to our names. So you might be surprised that you don't actually have anything.
Yeah, I've got nobody with red dots next to their names on my screen.
Okay.
That you had been logged back on and you had point.
That's true. Was your still going?
Yeah, what I do, I usually hit the stop button when the person stops, and then I hit the record the discussion, so that mine usually breaks up into 3 or 4 different smaller segments, depending on how many times I hit the start and stop button.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mel. I'll thank you, everybody.
No worries, Roz. You take care.
See you, Roz. Say hi to Mark for her.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
On a copy of the recording, what's the best way to get it to you?
Well, what Richard Williams did, he according to the cloud or to the computer?
Mine's going to my computer, but if Richard's going to get it to you, I won't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. Richard said he had to go in and out, so I don't know if he's still there recording or not. But
it shows that he is.
So what usually last time is he uploaded it into a Dropbox, and I Dropbox.
Okay. Well, if he wants to do that, fine. And then if you can't get it, you can contact me, and we'll see if we can get it.
We'll do. I appreciate that.
Okay.
It's interesting. This sounds like techno speak from Star Trek.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes.
Well, it's a long way from Breaker 19. This is big. Come on.
Yeah.
Or the tin can on the string.
Okay. Well, on that, I need to take off. So thank you. Enjoyed it. Have a good evening.
Thanks
See you, Janet.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to go too. Bye. Thank
See
you.
Greg. Say hi to everyone.
Yep, I will. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, if nobody has any other questions or anything they want to look at, I might end the session. If you do have something, I'm more than willing to leave the room open for you, or answer any questions you may have if I can answer them.
Well, once again, it's been a really enjoyable morning. That's great fun.
Thanks a lot.
Nice to see Guido with us there. And Richard, of course.
Haven't seen you for a while, Barry.
No, I haven't seen you for a while. I was hoping to see you this year, but well, you ended up going to New Zealand at Easter. Well, did you go at Easter?
No. We didn't go to NZ.
No. Well, let's face it, nobody went anywhere.
No.
We're still making the decision where to go each day, whether to go to the lounge room for breakfast or to the theatre room out the back or to stay in bed. Sometimes the stay in bed was okay, but now it's just asleep.
I wish I had that problem.
Mine was get up early and then go lay on the couch and try and find a position where I wasn't hurting.
And
that's what I did.
Of
course, and as soon as you get comfortable and start drift, we got 2 little cavoodles. As soon as you start drifting off to sleep, they want to come and say, "Oh, are you sleeping?" I'll lick your face to say good night, wake you up, and then they bugger off on you, little bastards.
Yeah. Yeah, because Jaden's been here since Wednesday, so we've taught square dancing, you know, for 4 days in a row. I'm putting him to work this afternoon doing a feature on choreography from 3x1 lines for the next issue. So that's going to be the meat and potatoes section. And when he's here, I always put him to work, you know, because he's got a very, very good brain. At 22, he's great. For me, at 72, the brain is not great anymore.
I thought you meant when you said going to put him to work, I thought you were going to mow the lawns or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Susie does that.
That between you and Mel getting the missus out mowing the lawn is pretty damn.
I have a valid reason though.
Well, I'm the one mowing the lawn again. So.
Susie's always mowed the lawns ever since we moved here, you know, 25 years ago or 30 years ago from where we were at Dapto. I used to mow the lawns every day, but I have a back problem, so I couldn't bend down to empty the grass catcher. So I used to mow the lawns, go into the house to get Sue to come out to empty the grass catcher. She got so annoyed with me going in and out, getting her to come out. She said, bugger off, I'll do it all so I can control my own time.
So what you're saying, Barry, is your plan worked.
Yes, it did. Perfect.
Watch out she doesn't plow your field, she's behind you.
I know, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, nothing has changed, you know. 43 years of marriage, 45 years of marriage. Sorry, copped it again.
Yeah, dropping off a couple, eh?
Are you getting the rain down there too, Barry?
Yes, it's pouring today.
Yeah, it's been on and off here, but it's coming down again here as well, which is nice.
It rained a lot during the night time. Yolanda, where you are in Canada, what's the weather like there?
Well, we've just had 1 week where it was sunny most of the time. So my grass was so high that I just got all the grass done. And I mean, literally up to my knees in some places. And now it rained. It was like, I knew Saturday it was going to rain. I had to get that lawn done. But I've got one of those special blades now because I have back issues. So I have one of those special blades now so I don't have to do the bagging anymore. It really helps. Yeah, it really helps.
Where Yolanda is from, she's halfway up, well, about a third of the way up, province of British Columbia. So they've got 3 seasons there: June, July, and winter.
So, you know, otherwise I'd be shoveling snow, right? Yeah. So this is better. I don't have to wear layers and layers of clothes. So, yeah. But I do say it feels like, Mel, because I had 3 years of bed rest because they couldn't figure out how to fix my spine. So now when I want to grumble about having to mow the lawn, I just remind myself I can. Because I do it like an hour and then I go inside, do something else.
Yeah.
I can't imagine snow. I've only ever seen snow twice in my life. And yeah, once was I had to do a New Year's Eve dance in Grants Pass in Oregon. And I was in Northern California, and I had to go from a place called Wairika in Northern California across the Siskiyou Mountains to Oregon to do the dance. And there's this snow stuff that comes down, which we don't have. We're anywhere near close to us. I had to get chains on the car, and it took 6.5 hours to go 26 miles. You know, so I think snow is beautiful. On a postcard or through a window.
Well, let's put it this way. We had a tree that was starting to hit the hydro lines. So after the city cut it back 3 times, they finally decided they were going to cut it down, right? Then they decided to do it in the wintertime. So I have to prove, so if necessary, I can take my laptop and show you. But I have a stump at the moment, 1 meter high, because the city decided they were going to cut the tree when the snow was almost gone. So in about a week, we had a melting of the snow for almost a meter high, and that was the leftover snow, right? Because we had quite a bit of snow.
Yeah, I grew up in northern British Columbia, and it's really hard for people to grasp the concept sometimes. Like we went out on an army camping, it was called a winter survival exercise, where it was 86.0. That's Fahrenheit. Minus 40 is minus 40, both Celsius and Fahrenheit. That's cold. But when you look at it, 10 feet of snow in a night, that's 3 meters of snow in a night, is not unusual up there.
Amazing.
And you may get 4 or 5 nights of that. So when you look at it, you're talking at roads, you're looking at about a 2.5, 3-story building with the road cut through the middle of a 3-story building, and that's just snowbank on each side. That's not packed up, that's just the way it's cut. And yeah, it's just the way it is sometimes.
So I have a 6-foot fence around my backyard, and by the end of the season, I can't see the fence anymore. So yeah, it's quite interesting. It's just the way it is.
I was traveling through Wyoming there, this about 76, I think it was. And anyway, I saw a Halliburton camp over there, so I thought I'll pull in and see if there's anybody I know. So anyway, as I pulled into the car, into the parking lot there, this bloke come running over. He said, "Oh," I said, "Are you a tester?" And I said, "Yeah." "Oh," he said, "Thank God you've arrived." And I said, "What do you?" And he said, "Well, Duncan sent me." I said, "No. Do you want a job?" Because they were boom times, huh? So anyway, he's trying to, I need to settle down Springs, Wyoming. So, and it's like I said, it's middle of summer, so we got his missus and I got my missus and kids, and we're all having lunch, And he's giving me the big spiel on, and we're down to the point where I'm trying to supply accommodation, because they did in Singapore. I was in Singapore in that place, and he's trying to sell me a port to live in. Anyway, and we got off and I said, "By the way," I said, "You have trouble with your people around here or something. What do you mean?" Well, as I come through on the highway, and you've got the highway through the hill, you've got fences on. I said, cattle come down and fall down on the road or something. He said, "Oh," he said, no. He said, "They're snow fences." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Oh," he said, "if we don't put those up, it blocks the roads. There's that much snow." I said, "You can have your job. I'm going back to Singapore." No. So if you've got to have fences to hold back snow, I don't need to be there.
Yeah. It's absolutely amazing the differences that you come across. Like here, this is wintertime for us. It doesn't get down to 0 at all. That's Celsius. Winter for us, I think it's about 6 degrees Celsius in the nighttime. In the daytime, about 12 degrees Celsius. So that's cold to us, really freezing. But I have been really, really cold. I had to do a dance in a place called Umeå in Sweden about 15 years ago. And it was an open air dance at the beginning of the end of May at Umeå. And Umeå, I think it's about 300 or 400 kilometers north of Stockholm. And the dance started at 10 o'clock at night and went till, I think, 3 o'clock in the morning, 5-hour dance, short dance for Sweden. But it was so interesting for me because it was freezing cold. It was about minus 30 degrees Celsius. And of course, there was what was fascinating and why it was outdoor, because it was the beginning of the still in the sun just touched the horizon and went up again. And of course, I've never seen anything like that at all, which was fabulous, but freezing.
Barry?
Yeah.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Barry Wonson, can you just say hello to Dad? I don't know if you can see Dad in
Jack.
the picture.
G'day, Jack. How you going, mate?
Still battling on.
Still battling on. Still
Yeah,
battling.
nearly 90.
Well, that you only look 87.
I feel 90.
Okay.
Yeah. How that you sound going all right?
Oh, everything's going fine with us. Everything's going fine. We're enjoying enforced holiday.
Yeah, we did a lot of driving to come to see you from Castle to Sans Souci.
Yep.
That's a long while.
They were wonderful days. Wonderful
You
days.
look after yourself, mate.
And the same to you, Jack.
Good on you.
See you, mate.
Good on you, mate.
Thanks, Barry.
All this talk about snow, Barry.
Yeah.
If I can show you outside at the moment, there's not a cloud and the sun's shining, and it's about.
We've got it in the rain, and it's about 12 degrees.
It's summertime. It's solstice, and we had just 2 degrees 2 weeks ago, and all the gardeners were terrified it would go down a couple of more degrees, and we'd freeze all our crops, right? So, and this is our summer.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I got a leave coming for about. I got windows to clean.
Yeah.
I get it, Richard. Look at
Right.
Yep, will do.
See you, mate.
If nobody has anything, probably got a bit of work to get done here.
I need coffee now.
So
I need coffee.
I want to thank you all for coming. And like I said, if you have any questions, email it to me. We've got a few sessions coming up every Sunday. I'm trying to get Daryl and Jaden up.
Oh,
the GSI.
Jaden just arrived in the kitchen.
Yeah. The GSI shows are still going on Wednesdays. Sorry, their Tuesdays are Wednesdays. And Dawn moved theirs to 1 o'clock in the morning Sydney time. So whatever time that time is for you, for me it's 1 o'clock in the morning. But have a look at those. There's a lot of those up, and there's a lot of the 2 couple or the 1 couple dancing now coming online that it's starting to open up. Just have a look at it and you can see what it. The one thing I would recommend is if you're interested in the Sicilian Circle, read the documents, read the article, go over the presentation again. Don't Google the Sicilian Circle with square dancing because you will be totally and completely turned off. It is so badly represented for such a useful tool, and it's something that this is what we do with little children, this is what we do, or this is the old time mixer things. They are really, really bad Google things, which means now that I've said that, everybody will be Googling it to find out just how bad it is. But it is a tool, a very useful one. Use it, make use of it. If you got any questions, give us a call, send us an email, and I'll try and answer the best I can.
Everybody.
Thank you very much, everybody.
See you all later. See you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye. Well done. Thank you. Cheers, mate.